Welcome to Books by Barron. Today, I'm joined by Amina Carter, exploring quiet choices, restraint, and decisions shaping personal identity. Amina, welcome to Books by Barron.
Yes.
It's a real pleasure having you here, and
Yeah.
thank you for joining the conversation today. What question or tension originally pushed you to write this book?
I wanted to understand why so many defining choices in our lives happen without witnesses,
Yeah.
and why we often doubt their importance because of that.
I think a lot of people will hear that and recognize themselves making big decisions quietly
Right.
without applause or confirmation.
Yes. And sometimes the quiet is what makes those decisions harder to trust, even though they're the most honest ones.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, learning to trust yourself when there's no noise around the choice. What personal experience most shaped the story or ideas inside it?
I learned to walk away from unspoken expectations that were always present, realizing it gradually, not through conflict, but fatigue.
Yes.
Sometimes it isn't conflict that clarifies things.
Yeah.
It's simply reaching a point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
That point, right?
At that point, what did exhaustion reveal that resistance never did?
It revealed how much energy I was spending maintaining things that no longer aligned with who I was becoming.
That awareness shifted everything
Yeah.
because I could finally redirect my energy toward growth instead of maintenance.
That's a powerful distinction
Yeah.
because growth asks us to release what's familiar before it ever feels comfortable.
Exactly. And learning to sit with that discomfort is often the first real step toward becoming who you're meant to be.
What part of this book took the longest to understand yourself?
That strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up as restraint, patience, or the decision not to explain yourself.
And that realization must have been profound.
It took time to accept that strength can be quiet. Restraint, patience, and the decision not to explain. I had to unlearn the belief that visibility equals strength and trust quieter decisions shaping my life more honestly.
Wow.
What question or tension originally pushed you to write this book?
That's a great question. And it really started with a deep sense of purpose.
So why do you think that happens?
I wanted to understand why so many defining choices in our lives happen without witnesses.
What emotion were you wrestling with while creating this work?
A quiet tension between obligation and agency.
What did you risk by choosing to write this book honestly?
Disappointing people who preferred a simpler version of me.
What lasting thought do you hope readers carry with them after completing the book and sitting with its meaning?
I hope readers remember that quiet decisions often shape their lives more deeply than dramatic moments ever could alone themselves. I want them to trust inner clarity even when external validation is absent, delayed, or never arrives at all anyway. The book invites readers to see stillness as strength and patience as an active, intentional choice made daily by themselves. Ultimately, I hope they carry permission to choose alignment over expectation without guilt, apology, or explanation from anyone else anywhere.
So this book ultimately invites readers to trust quiet clarity, value stillness, and choose alignment over expectation without apology. With that in mind, which part of the book challenged you most as a writer while shaping those ideas on the page?
I struggled most with articulating restraint without romanticizing it, honoring its difficulty while resisting the urge to simplify experiences theirs. Writing honestly required slowing my language, revisiting assumptions, and sitting longer with uncertainty than felt productive at the time initially. I had to edit out certainty, allowing questions to remain unresolved so readers could enter the work themselves thoughtfully, freely. The hardest part was trusting restraint as craft, not absence, and believing subtlety could carry meaning without explanation fully alone.
So you wrestled with restraint, uncertainty, and subtlety as craft. How did that process change how you now approach writing?
It taught me to trust silence on the page, allowing space for readers to meet the work halfway themselves there. I now write more slowly, questioning urgency, letting ideas breathe before forcing conclusions or answers prematurely onto the page quickly. The process reminded me that clarity emerges through patience, revision, and humility rather than speed or performance alone quietly eventually. Now, I approach writing as listening first, shaping language only after understanding what truly wants to be said there fully.
So writing became more about listening and patience. How did that shift influence the way you imagine readers engaging this book?
I began imagining readers as participants rather than consumers, meeting the book with attention, curiosity, and their own lived questions. Instead of guiding them toward conclusions, I trusted readers to sit with ambiguity and discover meaning through reflection and personal experience. That shift allowed the book to feel less instructional and more conversational, honoring the intelligence and patience readers already possess. Ultimately, I wanted readers to feel accompanied, not directed, as they navigated their own quiet decisions alongside the text.
So you invited readers to participate through ambiguity rather than instruction, what you hope they feel closing the final page?
I hope readers feel grounded, calmer, and more trusting of themselves when the book ends and the quiet returns again. I want them to feel less rushed by expectations and more at ease with their own unfolding timing in life. Ideally, they feel permission to pause, reflect, and honor decisions that may never receive recognition from others or society broadly. Most of all, I hope they close the book feeling accompanied, not alone in their quiet choices moving forward intentionally.
So the goal is grounding, permission, and companionship. How do you hope this book reshapes conversations beyond individual readers alone?
I hope it slows conversations, making space for listening, reflection, and nuance instead of urgency, performance, or immediate resolution everywhere. I want discussions to value thoughtful pauses, lived experiences, and complexity rather than quick takes, certainty, or polarizing conclusions alone. Ideally, the book encourages communities to ask better questions, stay present longer, and resist rushing toward answers together patiently, thoughtfully. I hope it normalizes depth and restraint, reminding people meaningful dialogue often begins where certainty ends without noise or spectacle.
So you're inviting slower, deeper dialogue. What does this book reveal about the cultural moment we're living through right now?
It reflects a culture overwhelmed by speed, noise, and urgency, often mistaking constant motion for purpose, progress, or clarity. The book responds to that tension by offering stillness as resistance and reflection as a necessary counterbalance to acceleration. It suggests many people sense misalignment but lack language, space, or permission to slow down and listen inwardly. Ultimately, the book speaks to a collective longing for meaning, patience, and integrity amid relentless external demands everywhere.
So the book responds to cultural overload with stillness and meaning. What do you hope readers feel months after finishing it?
Months later, I hope readers feel steadier, less reactive, and more trusting of their internal compass daily in everyday life. I want them carrying patience into decisions, choosing alignment quietly without urgency, comparison, or external validation lingering over time consistently. Ideally, they remember stillness as a resource, returning to reflection when life accelerates unexpectedly again and feels overwhelming or noisy. I hope the book remains a quiet companion, reminding them growth unfolds gradually, long after reading ends for their lives.
You're describing steadiness replacing reactivity, with readers trusting their inner compass long after the noise and urgency fade away slowly. You also emphasize patience, alignment, and reflection as practices readers return to when life accelerates and external pressures intensify again. What stands out is the book becoming a quiet companion, offering permission to slow down without guilt or explanation ever. Together, that suggests growth continuing well beyond reading, unfolding gradually through attention, restraint, and intentional daily choices over time alone. With that in mind, what would you want clarified if this book were misunderstood by readers later on reflection alone?
I would want readers to know the book isn't rejecting action, but inviting discernment before movement, urgency, or habitual response. It's not about withdrawal or hesitation, but choosing alignment intentionally, especially when clarity feels uncomfortable or incomplete in real life. I'd want them to understand stillness here is active, demanding honesty, courage, and responsibility for one's own choices every day. If misunderstood, I'd clarify this book offers no answers, only better questions readers must live with over time themselves fully.
What quiet choice are you avoiding, and what might change if you trusted yourself enough to finally acknowledge it honestly? That question doesn't end here. If this conversation resonated, you'll find more thoughtful discussions, featured authors, and reflections at booksbybarron.com. That's where the conversation continues. Amina, thank you for sharing your insight and presence today. This conversation added depth, clarity, and meaning to our time together. Her book, The Quiet Weight of Choosing, is available now. Discover more thoughtful conversations and featured works at booksbybarron.com. Thank you for joining us on Books by Barron. I'm your host, Barron Darby. Until next time, stay curious and choose intentionally.